Welcome back to the Mind Goals podcast, hosted by yours truly, Siobhan Higgins, sport and performance psychology consultant, professional soccer player, and yoga instructor. Today, I'm super excited to introduce a guest that I met at the University of St. Thomas, my old goalkeeper coach, even though I'm not a goalkeeper, Mr. Eric Briggs.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah, if anybody has a chance to do this show, they should do it because the green room is amazing. Like the charcuterie and the Topo Chico fountain. That was incredible.
You know, it is funny when people come and see the set. They're like, oh, this is what it looks like? Because, you know, you can't tell from the video.
I love it. It's great.
It's cool, right? Yeah. Shout out to Taylor, my producer.
Rock on, Taylor.
So I like to begin with telling people how we met and what our relationship is. And honestly, right now, you're my friend and mentor. And I was telling my boyfriend about this yesterday. I was like, this is a guy don't be worried. This is a guy that's been calling me every month, telling me to start this podcast. And I was like, really? You've just been like you for me. Obviously, we met at St. Thomas when I was doing my undergrad and I was playing there and you were coaching. But over the years, you know, we've stayed in touch on social media. You've been like a cheerleader for me. You've been a supporter, and I appreciate that. So you've been somebody in my corner. I've talked to you about hard times I've had. Yep. You've truly been really helpful, and I really mean it, and you know that. And then you did actually call me, and this man is the one that left voicemails telling me to start the podcast, and he's like, just do it, just do it.
And
I was like, no, I need to do this. I need to do that. He's like, just start it already.
Just start it.
Just out of the blue, it'd be like, hey, this is Eric Briggs. I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, are you going to start that podcast that you were talking about? I'm like, yes, I'm going to. But I needed that.
Well, yeah, I had a lot of faith in you. And even from when we met at St. Thomas, you were a field player and I didn't interact with field players very much. I was the weird loud goalkeeper coach.
True.
But I would watch the different players and you stood out because you had this fierce, like serious air about you. And I'm like, that kid wants to be a pro. There's just no, like, she wants to be pro. And I didn't see anyone coming up to you trying to foster that. And so I don't know if you remember, one day after practice, I came up to you and I said, hey, because at the time I didn't know everybody's names.
Yeah. What did you call me? You with the long hair? You with the bitch face?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember because I'm so bad with names. And
probably said kid.
My goalkeepers know that. They know that it's going to be a couple of months before I learn their name.
Oh, wow.
And I said, hey, hold on, don't leave yet. I want to talk to you. And then everybody kind of filed out and some of the girls were like, oh, what's that? What's that all about? And I told you, I looked at you and I said, you want to be a pro, don't you? And you said, yeah. And so I told you, I said, keep doing what you're doing. I go, even if the other girls think you're a bitch, don't. It's not personal. It's business on this field. Mm-hmm. Be a bitch. I said it because it's about you and your future and where you want to go in soccer, and I think you can do it. And you know, you name where you want to go and get it done, and you did, And up until that point, I don't know if anybody had ever told you that. Just watch the way you played and how serious you were. I mean, after a game, I remember one game that we played. And we had lost, and it was like 1-0 or something like that. And you came off the field, and you were just so pissed and so angry. And I went to talk to you, and you just said, "No, just not right now, not right now." And I was like, that kid wants to be more than where she is right now. So, yeah.
I hope it was nice. I hope it was like not Eric Briggs, because Eric is very joking. You have a lot of jokes. You're hilarious, and I was like, no time for games right now.
So
I'm pissed.
Yeah, no. So and that's how I deal with things. I always inject humor into stuff.
Me too.
So because I mean I deal with goalkeepers and
they're crazy.
There's a lot of mental instability, and goalkeepers by nature because you have to be insane to do what we do.
Which I'm gonna get into that because I haven't had a goalkeeper coach on here. I haven't had a goalkeeper yet, but there is a stereotype for goalkeepers.
There is, yeah.
And I'm really excited to dive into why they're all just, I'm not going to use the word like they're weird. They're all very different. It takes a certain individual to want to get in front of a ball that's coming at you, I don't know, very fast.
Yeah.
And to dive and just throw your body on the line, quite literally.
Yeah.
Go into those tackles that you do.
I've broken everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've broken everything.
Insane. Yeah, I've collided with goalkeepers and I've seen the collisions and it's gnarly.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
But it's part of it. You accept it for what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's one of the things that makes me so mad about soccer today. The game has changed. Like sometimes I tell my kids, I don't even recognize soccer anymore. It's just so different than it was when I was a player.
Yeah.
The diving and the flopping has become like a normal thing. And when I was a player, if you did that, not only would your own team laugh you off the field, but your coach would snatch you out and put you on the bench. You wouldn't see the field again for months.
Yeah.
It just didn't exist. It didn't happen.
I hate it.
And now we've come into an era of soccer where, there was a meme going around, and when I saw this meme on social media, I was like, it's absolutely spot on. It was a picture of J.J. Watt with his helmet up and blood pouring down his face. And it says, football players pretend like they're not hurt. And then next to it was a guy rolling around on the ground holding his leg, and soccer players pretend they are. And that just, and goalkeepers don't have that. We don't have that luxury. When we get hurt for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know a goalkeeper that hasn't broken at least 4 or 5 bones.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. And concussions, forget about it.
I know, it's so bad.
I mean, my brains are scrambled because of concussions.
Brains, plural. There, you said it in the sentence.
Yeah, my brains. Yeah, one half and the other half. So.
And what I was going to say is I agree, but I would say that it's actually men's soccer. It's like that because I don't think women dive and do all this BS. That
is true. And, I've been asked before, I've been interviewed before as a goalkeeper coach. And they always ask the same question.
Really?
Who do you like training more?
Oh, I would not have asked you.
Men or women? And I always say women. And they're like, wow. We figured, men, because I've trained an equal number and had an equal amount of success on both sides, but women are different. Women goalkeepers work like tanks. They want repeat shots. If they screw something up, they want to get in and do it again. They just work like bulldogs. It's uncanny. And then male goalkeepers are prima donnas. They are. Mm-hmm. They sometimes they can be a little lazy unless they get pissed off. When they get pissed off during practice, then you see it come out. Then you see that pit bull come out. But as a whole, they don't work as hard because they don't. It's almost as if they don't have anything to prove because they're men, and the women do because they're women goalkeepers.
It could be.
Yeah.
I personally when I'm playing against men, I'm not if someone pushes me, I kind of hate when they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or "Don't do that. She's a girl." I'm kind of like, "No, I'm gonna knock into you," and then they're like, "Oh, okay, she wants to play with us." I'm like,
yeah.
And it's just kind of a way to earn respect. It actually is. Once people see you make a good pass or you push someone off the ball, they're gonna be like, "Okay, I'm gonna change the way that I'm acting." And it is. It's kind of you do have to prove a point.
You do.
That's the way it is.
And a long time ago, before club soccer kind of poo-pooed it, I used to the really good female goalkeepers that had incredible potential. I didn't want them playing on women's teams. I wanted them playing on the men's teams during their club season. Like, why? Mm-hmm. Like, coach, why? I go, number one, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Number two, when you play a season with a men's team and you go back, let's say you're going back to high school or you're going back to your college season, playing against other women is a cakewalk because you've been out there and dudes have been, banging you and bullying you
Yeah.
and pushing you around, and you get used to it and you get stronger, and it's almost as if you've been playing pro
Yeah.
for a year, and then you go back and now you're playing semi-pro and you're like, okay, this is a cakewalk.
Yeah, it's true. And when I'm in off season, I come back and I train with the boys.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends that do that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's harder, it's tougher, it's quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, we're different. We're very different, as much as people want to say other things, but there's a difference in men's soccer and women's soccer. And so, I completely agree. And I would encourage female athletes to train with the boys.
Oh, absolutely.
Do it.
Oh, absolutely. And you'd be surprised how much a men's team will not only respect, but protect.
Yes.
You know, especially if they have a female goalkeeper who's there, it's just utmost respect. They're on their best behavior.
Yeah.
And then when something happens, it's protection time.
Yeah, they've got your back.
Yeah, they got your
For
back.
sure,
100%.
yeah. It's kind of fun. It's cute. You know, it's endearing. Like, even though they're annoying and they're your teammates, as soon as someone crosses a line, they're all like there for you, kind of like brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. And that's it's that same way with most goalkeepers, men or women, but with women especially. I think that cross training, male and female players, there's stuff to be gained from both sides.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. Interesting. But then, okay, leading into my next question. So, or not question, but something I remember, you've said many things. Something I remember that you said that was really cool and stuck with me was, so for people listening, Coach Briggs, I'm calling you Eric, really. I don't really call you Eric. Coach Briggs has helped me out. When I'm in the off season, he's given me some contacts of girls to train or kids to train. So I've always been like, you know, I've been taken care of. And you as a coach, you know, like you've mentioned, like, I don't charge people to train, but you know, you're a college kid, you know, you should.
Right.
And I definitely agree with making it affordable, and I understand, but I want to know like your philosophy and your reasoning behind that.
So every goalkeeper I've ever trained will tell you I have never charged a dime for training a goalkeeper, no matter who it is. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. Number one, I have a career, I have a job, I have money. I don't need to do it for the money. And number two, when I was growing up and learning how to play the game, and I grew up overseas for a good part of my childhood. I lived in Singapore and Denmark. And then when we came back to the United States, I was up north, which back in the 70s and 80s, that was the epicenter of soccer. Like I had a cousin that played up north, and I would go up there during the summertime just so I could train with really good teams.
Nice.
I remember scrimmaging with Tony Miola, you know, when we both had matching mullets. and I got to play with some incredible players that went on to be pro. There wasn't such thing as a goalkeeper trainer. Like Texas, except for up in the Dallas area, Texas was a soccer wasteland.
Really?
There was one soccer store where you could buy stuff, and it was all field player stuff. So I would mow yards all summer, take my money, send it to my cousin in New Jersey. He would drive into the city, go to Uhlsport, because Uhlsport had a big corporate office, and they had a big store. He would buy all my gear, and then he would send it to me, and that would be my gear for the season.
Wow.
Because I couldn't get it here.
Dang. Not to age you, but what year/decade was this?
That would have been 82 through 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was
back in the 1900s.
Okay. That's what it. Wow.
Yeah, back in the 1900s.
When there were steel carriages and there were.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there was a lack of soccer. Well, obviously, a lack of a lot of things around soccer. So stores, training, facilities, and even. Okay, so goalkeeper coaches. So there are normal soccer coaches, and then there wasn't.
There wasn't.
Okay, because for me, I've been playing. You know, I don't know. It's probably since early 2000s, and there's always been a goalkeeper coach, or not each team has it, but a club has them, and then the goalkeeper will train with your team, and then they'll be sent off for goalkeeper training.
Right.
Which, yeah, what's your opinion about that? How should goalkeepers train? Because I will say before you answer, growing up when I was younger, it was a little frustrating as a player for the goalkeepers not to be able to use their feet. It's like, I don't want to give the goalkeeper the ball because they might mess it up. They might not be able to trap it. Like this is just when I was younger, because they're not playing like a field player. Right. And so the stereotype was for goalkeepers not to be able to like play field soccer. Right. But ask me to go in the goal, no way. Like, you can do that.
Yeah.
And I obviously, if the roles were reversed and we all had to try out being goalie, we'd all suck. But I was going to ask, what do you think that the training should be for a goalkeeper to have like an all full circle training? Okay.
Well, let me rewind real quick.
Okay.
One of the reasons I never charged.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tend to ramble.
Idiot. No, but me too.
One of the reasons I never charged to train a goalkeeper was because all I wanted when I was that age was a trainer. Right. So my parents were not involved in my soccer. They thought it was a sissy sport. My parents never came to any game I ever played. And all I wanted was a goalkeeper trainer to like teach me the fine aspects of it. And I got lucky because my high school coach played for Florida State.
Cool.
And he also was their backup goalkeeper. So, he taught me a lot of stuff. And after I left soccer, I promised myself that I would give back to the sport one day because it was my outlet. It was my safe space. Mm-hmm. When I got on the field, I was in a different world altogether. I came from a somewhat dysfunctional home, and soccer was my fantasy world away from being at home.
Yeah.
And I swore that I would give back to the sport because it gave so much to me.
Yes.
And so I started training kids and teaching them what I had learned. Mm-hmm. From not only watching the game, but from talking to other goalkeepers. And I had the luck to be able to meet some professional goalkeepers and train with a few. And I would just pick stuff up and learn it, write it down. And so then I started training goalkeepers, and that's how I gave back. And then it kind of got out of control. And at one point I had like 60 goalkeepers that I was training twice a week.
Dang.
And that was my thing. I couldn't I'm Joe the capitalist. I love money because money makes the world go round. Money can't buy happiness, but it sure takes the rough edges off. But taking a kid's sport and turning it into a business model is something that I abhor. A kid's parents shouldn't have to pay $2,000 to $10,000 for their kid to learn a game.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I always wanted to make sure, and that was my thing with my goalkeepers. Okay. Their parents were like, okay, well, if this is free, we don't understand. I go, look, your kid has to make me a promise, and they'll go over it with you. And their promise to me was that someday when you're done playing, you will give back to the sport and train just one kid for free. And it's amazing that a lot of them, I get texts from goalkeepers I trained 20 years ago, that send me pictures of kids that they're trained. They don't charge any money. They do it for free. Yeah. And so that was kind of my way to give back. So
I like that.
Anyway, and let's move on to your other question, which was, again, recap it.
Great. No, I forgot it. No, I remember it.
Come on.
Well, I wanted to first comment on that because I think that's nice. I didn't know the reason behind it, but I think that's beautiful, and I agree because although for me, yes, at being in college and coming home, being in off season, that's my means of making money, and it's a quick job that there's no contract, it's not full time, right. It's on your own schedule, so it's easier for a soccer player to earn by charging. But it does suck, especially in America, that joining a club is so expensive, or people that do have talent they're not able to play because of the finances. Yeah. It's hard.
And then paying for a trainer is ridiculous. But you know what? If you're a private trainer and somebody's parent and you want to make money doing that, I'm okay with that. But if you're a college kid and you want to make extra money, when you get to the point to where you turn it into a business model, that's kind of where I draw the line. So, yeah. How should a goalkeeper train?
Thank God.
Yeah.
I was thinking while you're talking.
So
Yeah, what's the full circle?
So
Ideally.
so the full circle is so much different than it was back in the day.
Okay.
Back in the day, you had a kid that sucked in the field. Like, okay, so let's just put that kid in the goal. Right? And then they learn because they can't play, And so when I was a player, I couldn't play with my feet. Are you kidding me? A pass back? No. But we had the pass back rule. So my players would pass the ball back to me. I could pick it up.
You could back then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
Your player we could do a throw, like on throw-ins, on throw-ins.
They could throw it to the goalie?
They would do the throw-in right to me. I'd grab it, and then I would distribute it, or I'd, punt it down the field or drop kick it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my hero, Peter Schmeichel. God bless him, one of the best goalkeepers to ever play the game. He kind of screwed that up for everybody by burning 5 minutes of. They burned the last 5 minutes of the Euro Championships by simply he would pass it to his fullback and his fullback would pass it back to him and he would pick it up, run the clock down and do the same thing.
It was monkey in the middle.
Oh yeah, it was monkey in the middle,
Holy
and they did that for like 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, and that's when FIFA stepped in and go, okay, you can't do that anymore.
That's insane.
But goalkeepers now. So I look at my kids. But both my sons were goalkeepers, and they are so like well-rounded as players. They can both play the field, like incredible. They can both score goals. And the reason being is because these days, all kids when they go into youth soccer, I call them the midgets. The midgets are all playing. There's no goalkeepers. They all learn how to play the field. They all
You
learn
call
how
us the midgets, the field players?
No, the little kids.
Oh, okay.
You see them on the field. They're all running around with the little pop-up goals, and they're scoring. The midgets are playing, and they're having fun. But there's no goalkeepers, right? They teach them how to play the game as field players, right? They teach them how to use their feet, how to handle the ball, how to pass, how to do all that stuff. Then when you get up to the age of about 12 or 13, you have that kid who migrates to the goal, right?
Yeah.
They migrate to the goal and you're like, there's my goalkeeper. Right? So by the time you get a kid that migrates to the goal, that kid already knows how to use their feet.
The puppy garter.
They're well-rounded players because they were all field players. And now goalkeepers are just as fit as field players. And I told you I was wearing my favorite soccer shirt. It's a 0.0.
Explain.
Okay, so you see the people with the marathon 23.0.
Oh yeah, okay, because you're not running.
Back when I played, goalkeepers didn't run. When our teams ran, goalkeepers did goalkeeper drills. We didn't run. We didn't have lungs. But now goalkeepers can like, my youngest son can, he can outrun almost everybody on his team. He can do 2 miles and have a heartbeat and not even be winded. Whereas goalkeepers in my day, no, we were not.
Did you make that shirt or did you find it?
So I have a buddy of mine that makes vintage patches.
Okay, cool.
Vintage irons on. And I said, dude, I want you to make this for me. And he made it, sent it to me, and I ironed it on. I wear it all the time.
That's actually hilarious.
So yeah, I have a sticker for my car too. Oh. And every once in a while somebody will see it and go, I get it. I was a goalkeeper. So, but yeah, we didn't run, but now goalkeepers are more rounded. So
I see the evolution. It's funny because the way that you painted the picture, I'm thinking of like the scientific like evolution of a player, and then there's one goes into the goal and then they become the goalie.
Yeah.
So okay, back to being a well-rounded player.
And so now as a well-rounded goalkeeper, your training involves a mix of ball handling skills with your feet, placement. I mean, I would say probably about 25% to 30% of your training is field player stuff. The beginning of every team practice should involve the goalkeeper in like the first 10 or 15 minutes of all the field player stuff, because they have to be able to use their feet today, because they are the last, keeper sweeper is such a big thing now.
Yes.
Whereas when I was a player,
Yeah.
no,
skip.
I stayed on my dirt. I stayed on my dirt because I didn't want to get caught outside that box because I wasn't a keeper anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a well-rounded combination of field player stuff and then the goalkeeper stuff.
Okay. But what is goalkeeper stuff? Because I've never watched a goalkeeper session. I've seen it, I'll look over and see what they're doing, but I've never actually truly paid attention to a goalkeeper training session.
So we do a lot of repetitive things. So we'll spend the first 15, 20 minutes of a goalkeeper training session doing the basics. So we do rollouts, which are, so let's say I got 4 goalkeepers I'm training. So we'll put 4 balls in a big square, and each goalkeeper stands between 2 balls.
Okay.
And then they all go to the right first. So they'll get keeper ready, and they'll roll out to the right, and they'll get their hands on the ball, because that's the most common way a goalkeeper gets scored on. You have all these trainers that teach goalkeepers, I'm going to die, we're going to do upper 90s today. Do you know the number of occurrences that goalkeepers get scored on upper 90s? It's very rare. It's now and then.
Yeah.
But what they do get scored on is low
Sure.
ground ball, chicken shit stuff that they don't get to because they're so busy training to dive through the air. And so we train on that repetitively. My goalkeepers do 5 to 10,000 of those a year, to where it's mechanically second nature. They can do a rollout and get a ground ball without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then, we do a lot of stuff that involves your inner ear. So there was an old training thing from back in the 80s called the Dutch roll. Okay. And we would do that where goalkeepers, they jump over each other and they roll, and then they get on their hands and knees, and then another one jumps and rolls. And
a leapfrog, but sideways.
Kind of, but sideways, and you roll, and then you get on your hands and knees.
This sounds like combat training.
What it does is it screws with your inner ear, and it teaches you to find where you are no matter what happens. Because when a goalkeeper dives, they put a roll at the end of the dive to dissipate their impact, so that they can pop back up. So if you put a roll at the end of the dive, you have to know where you are visually, and you have to train your inner ears to know where you're at.
Wow. I always just thought that goalies were being dramatic when they rolled. I'm like, just get the ball, like, let's move on. Wow, there's an actual purpose.
No, there's an actual purpose for it. Yeah.
And what is inner ear? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so your balance, your balance and your coordination is all controlled by your inner ear. So you have these things in your inner ear called your semicircular canals. Okay. And it's just little tubes that have liquid in them that help you know which way is up and which way is down. Okay. And so, like, if you turn your head this way, your semicircular canals tell you, okay, my head is turned this way. And so they can also confuse you. That's why pilots have VFR and IFR licenses. So they're visual flight rules only, or instrument flight rules. Okay. And you have to train your inner ear and trust your instruments. Wow. Or else you'll end up in a tailspin thinking that you're perfectly level, and it all has to do with your inner ear. So we train goalkeepers on their inner ear. We train them on basics. So we teach them a foundation of skills, and I tell them, look, you can build your personal style later, right? Mm-hmm. You've got your whole career to build your personal style. However, right now I want you to learn basics. I want you to learn why you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, where you're supposed to be, and why you're supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. And once they learn that and learn how to catch a ball, learn how to do all the other stuff, and they can exercise that and apply it in games, then you can develop your personal style. I don't care about your personal style. I'll do that later. But I get goalkeepers with a patchwork of skills from 10 different coaches, and none of it matches up. Okay. So we have to tear them down to nothing, build that foundation for them, and then once they get competent with that, then they can build their personal style on top of that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I mess with their heads and teach them the psychology and teach them how to be kind of invincible, because we take a psychological beating. Yes. Go from a young age. Yeah. You take a psychological beating from your team, your teammates. You do. From the parents, and parents, if you think that the other goalkeepers can't hear you, they can hear you. So be careful what you say. We take a psychological beating from that, and then we beat ourselves up more than anything. Mm. And so we have to teach them how to deal with that and how to use that to their advantage. How to use that against a team. Like during a set piece, I was famous for getting other players red carded. I would talk to the players and go, God, your hair looks really good today. You look fantastic. Can I get your number? And they would lose their cool. I literally had players red carded because they would push me, they would punch me, and they're out of the game, and I'm smiling, and I would get up and say, "Don't forget your door prize." And so now they're a player down. So you have to learn how to use that psychological thing, and you have to learn how to ignore it when it's coming at you. Because as a goalkeeper, we know who's who in the zoo. And at the end of the day, nobody ever remembers the goals that were scored against goalkeepers. Nobody remembers them. They just remember the games that you won for them. They remember the saves. They remember the games that went into PKs.
Yeah.
They never remember the goals. And so you got to tell people, just let it go. It's part of the game. You're going to get scored on.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter what your name is and how good you are, you're going to get scored on. So get used to it.
And that's a brilliant thing to say, because that's like an acceptance piece, like psychologically speaking. Yeah, like it's going to happen. I tell athletes and myself even, like, I'm going to make a mistake, especially in the soccer game. As a soccer player, you're going to give away a pass. No one's going to have 100% pass accuracy. Maybe not even Kevin De Bruyne, the best in the league. But that's a good one to put. I mean, because things will happen, deflections happen. Yeah. Even if you did all that you could do, other shit happens.
Other stuff happens, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Just get on with the game, shake it off, and move on. When I see a goalkeeper playing and something happens and their chin drops like that, I'm like, nuh-uh. No, stop that.
Yeah.
Because you're knocking yourself out of the game, so you have to stop that.
The body language too.
And the hardest part is with a goalkeeper is the fact that a goalkeeper's by themselves. So a field player has nine other players to help them out if they screw up, and then they get a couple of other chances, but a goalkeeper doesn't.
You and I need to talk a lot more off air, because I didn't realize that I haven't really thought about goalkeepers, which is very sad.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I know you're gonna say we know, that's how it is for us.
It's the lone position.
It is a lone position, but that is sad. And I feel like I felt like they were obviously, we're our team. There's 11 players, including the goalie. But you're so right, because when I've been talking to myself or other people, you have a teammate to pick you up. You need to encourage your teammate, but the goalie's back there. You guys are most of the time by yourself.
Yeah. And we take a lot of.
You do take a lot of
verbal abuse and take a lot of heat. And I will tell during Suicide Awareness Month, I always try and put up a post on social media, and I will have goalkeepers that, I tell all of them, look, don't even consider anything without calling me. You all have my phone number. You can call me 24/7. Mm-hmm. And I do get calls. Hey, coach, I'm having trouble. I don't know what to do. It's and I've literally talked goalkeepers off a ledge before, and say, look, it's number one, it's a game. And number two, stop listening to the peanut gallery. Stop. They don't understand what you do. And when people talk shit about goalkeepers, I always tell them the same thing. Come with me, come do a 3-hour session, strap on a pair of gloves. And if you make it through without chucking your guts up in the goal, tell me that your mind hasn't changed. And it's, come on, we've all seen suicides in sports, but the last soccer suicide you saw was a goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. And it's, they deal with mental issues. And, on the outside, there are these crazy axe murderers who have a complete and total disregard for their own physical safety. However, they're also, come on, they're kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. And other kids can be brutal.
Yeah.
So.
And wow.
Sports psychology. It's an up and coming career choice.
Yeah. Which is, I felt drawn to it. My dad actually recommended it to me before I even got into the program. Yeah. And I was like, no, Dad, I don't want to listen to you. Here I am. Yeah. But I wanted to tack on to that, because I used to referee soccer. I still do every now and then. But because referees get a lot of abuse as well. And,
I wouldn't be a referee for anything.
That's what I'm saying.
It's ridiculous.
So my point to that is that when people, or if I were a coach, if I was a head coach, I would make my players take a referee course and then they can start talking.
Yeah.
Okay, but now I'm thinking about goalies in the same way, and I'm thinking the goalie has to sometimes join into field player sessions. What if field players had to train as a goalie, like you mentioned, like one training session?
Yeah.
Just to like get some perspective and insight.
So, and I have brought that up in different avenues. I always tell coaches of different sports, especially in high school, you should have your football players go train with the soccer players once or twice a week. And the soccer players should go train with the football players once or twice a week. And I said, you would be amazed at what would happen on both sides.
It would be so interesting.
And a lot of them are like, that's a good idea, but I can never make it happen. And meanwhile, you have soccer players who play both.
Yeah.
My youngest son was a wide receiver, and coaches, you need a wide receiver, go find a goalkeeper. They can run, they're fast,
and
they can catch.
And a lot of kickers.
And a lot of kickers, yeah. And then you have football players that come and play soccer because they grew up with it. You know, they grew up playing club soccer. But I think if you took the two sports and merged them, like cross their training together, you would get a lot of benefit out of that on both sides.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting to do every sport.
Yeah.
Swimming, basketball, tennis, track, golf, football, lacrosse, field hockey.
Yeah, because you'd be surprised how many threads there are that connect them all.
Yes.
You know, when a coach calls me from a high school and goes, hey, I lost my goalkeeper, I need a goalkeeper. Will you train a goalkeeper for me? What do I do? And I go, yeah, sure. Okay, well, what do you want me to do? I go find me a basketball player or go find me a volleyball player and send them to me.
Because usually hand-eye coordination.
Hand-eye coordination, tough as nails, sends them to me. I turn them into a goalkeeper. And a lot of times they end up going to college and playing in college. So.
Do you have, I know we might have to do a part 2 because there's so much more to discuss, but have you ever thought of having like an Eric Briggs training camp?
I did, yeah. I retired in 2019, yeah.
Why?
Because, so you have to think that for years, probably 10 or 15 years, probably 20 years, I was training high school and college goalkeepers from all over the country.
Okay.
My oldest son grew up at my training sessions.
Yeah.
As a midget playing with all these famous, goalkeepers.
As a little kid.
And then became a goalkeeper and was just phenomenal. My youngest son did the same thing. And at the time I was also a coach. And when you're a coach and your kid is a player, you're on the sidelines, you're not watching your kid play and enjoy, like you're not looking at them, just watching them play.
You're in business mode.
You're in coaching mode.
Yeah.
Right. And then with my youngest son, he was just so, advancing so fast that I was like, I don't want to miss watching him play. And Luke, and he was the little kid on the UST bench.
Yes.
Sharing candy with the players.
Yeah.
And that's the way he grew up. He grew up around soccer. I mean, he was surrounded by it. And I knew that he was going to be so good that I didn't want to miss it being a coach and being a trainer. So in 2019, I retired. And
do you think you'd get back into it? Because he's going to college soon.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, there are still goalkeepers that, like, I have some college goalkeepers that, in the summertime when they come in, they want to keep the rust knocked off. So I will do private sessions with them.
Yeah. And I never actually took you up on your offer, but I really had wanted to shoot on some of your goalies, to come by and train. So once my knee's better, I'd be happy.
You're welcome to it. And I still do a camp every once in a while. Unfortunately, the camp that I was going to do this summer got canceled because one of the coaches for the only school that allowed me to use their facilities left. And so I couldn't use their facilities because in our school district, all the campuses are closed campuses.
Okay.
So,
I'm sure we could work some things out.
yeah, so
I know people.
I know you do. But I don't know if I would consider doing it again because when I do it, because remember when you get to be my age, you're still 18 years old in your head and you can do it all because I like to get in with my goalkeepers and do stuff.
Yeah.
But my body tells me, screw you, old man. Yeah. My body rebels against me. So.
Not even just you, but any goalkeeper, you are taking knocks. Like I remember after a game, I'm like, oh, I feel like I got hit by a bus.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even, I'm not a goalie.
So I broke my back. So in my career, my back, almost all my fingers, both hands, my back, 4 ribs, 5 ribs, my wrist, my foot, my tailbone.
Ow.
Split my head open. I don't know how many times. 3 concussions. And I mean, I remember when I went to go, I was having so much trouble. I was in so much pain.
Yep.
And I was having so much trouble sleeping. And, the doctor had me on hydrocodone and I hated it because it made me, upset my stomach and it didn't really help. And so my wife said, you've got it. You have to do something. Because I would wake up in the morning and I was in terrible pain.
Yeah.
So I went to a spinal surgeon and he did the complete CAT scan or whatever it was. And when he came back into the room, he goes, Mr. Briggs, did you enjoy playing soccer? Did you enjoy your career? And I go, yeah, every minute of it.
Oh, he's like, well.
And he goes, yeah, you're paying for it right now. He said, you have 3 torn discs. And he goes, I'm going to do everything I can to help you avoid surgery for as long as possible. So every couple of years I go get injections.
Stem cells?
No, I get, it's like a steroid, an anti-inflammatory, and a viscofluid.
Okay.
And they inject it into my epidural cavity, and it keeps my discs lubricated, keeps them down. And the first one I had, I thought it was a freaking miracle.
Wow. We need to talk to my dad because he just had a spinal procedure.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
So, and I'm due for one, so I can tell because nothing's comfortable.
It's squeaking.
Yeah, nothing's comfortable, and you have pain. And someday I'm going to have surgery, but not now.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, and both my boys, same thing. Concussions and broken bones, and it's just part of the territory.
It is. Yeah. Here I am, second knee surgery.
Yeah. Thank God I never had to have a knee surgery. Yeah. Although I did have to have my knee drained and did have to have a cortisone shot.
Okay.
But that was back in the day when they would do that on the sideline. I played with broken fingers.
Yeah.
We had a team doctor that would popsicle stick, tape it up, put your glove back on, tape your 2 fingers together, and you just played.
No.
You just, broken fingers were really no big deal unless a bone popped out. So, yeah. My youngest son did that. He played with a broken finger for 6 months. It took a long time for it to heal, but he still played with it, They wanted to do surgery, and he goes, okay, well, what is it? He goes, okay, we're going to put a pin in your finger. We're going to put it, and he's like, can I play with that? And they said, yeah, no. And he goes, nope, I'll just. So they made a custom shaped cast for his finger, and he taped it up and stuck that in his glove, and he was good to go.
And it's fixed now. I know that I'm making so many faces.
Yeah, it actually healed. Yeah, it actually healed properly, and the doctors were surprised. But yeah,
wow.
And my oldest son played with a broken tailbone. Didn't even miss a game, and that hurts. It feels like somebody sticking an ice pick right at the top of your butt cheeks. It hurts.
Ice pick.
And there's nothing you can do for it.
Once I remember in, I think, middle school, we had someone in our class that broke their tailbone and they had to stand up for class.
It hurts.
Yeah. It hurts. I've had a bruised one before and that hurts.
Yeah. Broken ribs are the worst though. And I broke some cartilage on this side. That sucks.
Ouch.
Because as you move, you can feel it crunch.
And you're trying to breathe.
Yeah, you can feel it crunch.
And
sneezing. God,
yeah.
Please God, don't let me sneeze. Please God, don't let me cough.
No laughing.
Oh yeah, no laughing. No, it's miserable. But it comes with the territory, and I would do it all over again. But for me, because I was not Look, I'll be the first person to tell you, I was not the best goalkeeper in the world, but I was built like a fire hydrant.
What does that mean?
It means I was muscular. I wasn't like I was 5 foot.
You were stocky.
5'8", 5'9" in heels.
Okay.
And so I was muscular. I was built.
Yeah.
But I was fast, and
like rugby built.
Yeah, like rugby built, and I was fast, and I could dive as far as I wanted. It was like I could dive.
Squirrel.
I could dive. Yeah, I was a squirrel. I was a flying squirrel, and so I had to be that guy that had to take care of everything out at the edge of the box, because when I was coming out, somebody was going down, and the ball was not getting past me. And so because of that, I took a lot of injuries. And so I'm so glad that my sons are literally built like the epitome of goal. They're both over 6 feet.
I was so
slim
shocked.
And muscular, and they just everything they do is effortless. And me, I had to grunt and try. Man, when I came out, you could hear it. I was coming out, and somebody was getting hurt. And I had to do that because I was not tall. I was not the epitome of a goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. As hard as I tried to go pro, back then it was so much harder to do. There were no academies.
Yeah.
You're finding somebody whose dad had a video recorder, and filming it and taking the tape and sending it, mailing it to coaches.
Yes.
Praying to God they had a VCR where they could watch it.
Yeah.
So I did semi-pro. I was a tournament player. And, at some point I was just like, okay, it's not going to happen. And what I didn't realize was that I was destined to become a better coach than I was ever a player. And I wish I would have had somebody that would have told me that, dude, this is not going to work out for you. It's not going to happen. But you're not going to be the next World Cup or professional goalkeeper, but you might train one someday. And I'll be damned if I have not trained some of the best goalkeepers to ever do it. The best goalkeepers to ever do it.
There you go.
And I'm proud of that.
Yeah. That's so nice.
One of my players joked and said, "Man, coach, you've put more kids through college than FAFSA." And I'm like, I can't even count the number of players I put into college. And I'm proud of that. I love it.
That's awesome. That's very fulfilling and rewarding. And that is you giving back.
It is.
Too.
That's me giving back, and I do it for free because I love it.
How can people find you today? Do you still train goalies, or is it one-off?
No, the only thing I do is I do a summer camp dedicated to high school players.
Is it specifically goalkeepers only?
Goalkeepers only.
Okay, let's see what we can do. I can start preparing right now for next year. I'm serious.
So that you can find me on Twitter
at your own risk.
At your own risk. No, my Twitter's not as bad as it used to be. I don't get into arguments with people anymore. But my Twitter is Eric D, as in David, Eric D. Briggs. Uh-huh. And then if you want to follow me for all of my insane old man hobbies.
On Instagram, and you want to see rocks and dirt.
Yeah.
And coins.
Dig rocks and dirt and coins and bottles and stuff like that. It's Eric Briggs 8. And feel free to follow me because I have some cool hobbies. And
he will engage in your stories.
I will engage in your stories.
I'm like, what is this guy saying? I'll give it to you. You amaze me.
I'm very quick with things, and my wife tells me. My wife apologizes like when we go somewhere. For you, she apologizes ahead of time for me.
Eric is one of those
because I have no carburetor between my brain and my mouth.
Did you lose that while taking a knock?
No, I didn't. I just simply don't. Life's too short.
You were born this way.
Life's too short.
It is.
Speaking
of life's too short, this episode is too short, and okay. I really hate to, but I have to go to a soccer game.
What? You have to go to a soccer game?
Yes, I have to go to a soccer game.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Episode 2 will be coming up shortly.
Yes, episode 2 will follow this episode. So I would actually invite anybody to put in questions. If we didn't cover something or something we spoke about led you to a question you want to know about, ask me so I can put it in the next podcast, because I've never interviewed a goalkeeper before or a goalkeeper coach.
Oh, I can hook you up with that.
Yeah. I mean, once people see this one and hear, I'm sure they'll be there's so much to talk about. The topics we were discussing right now, I'm thinking it of like the center of a bubble, and we could have gone here, here. We both know that.
Yeah. I mean, we could turn this into a 3-hour show.
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Easily.
You're not going to be my first 3-hour show. Possible.
Well, I appreciate it, and you know that I was your biggest fan. I was your biggest cheerleader on this, and I'm very proud of you.
I really appreciate it. Seriously.
My pleasure.
And it's so cool. And again, full circle moment for me, because here you are.
Yeah, here I am.
I have the voicemail. I should play it for the intro, but it's like, hey, are you going to start that podcast? I'm like, oh my God. Yes, I am.
Just do it. And I know you're writing something too. Just do it.
The writing? Yeah.
Start writing.
I've started, but I got a writer's block right now.
No. Write. Vomit it out. Write it. I get it all out. Write drunk. Edit sober. Just start writing and don't stop.
Okay, I'll try that out. Handwriting, not so great.
Type it.
I will.
Do it.
Okay.
It was a pleasure. Always
you.
wonderful to see you, Siobhan. And tell your dad I said hello.
I will. He's listening. Right, Dad? Nods. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, listening to this short and sweet episode. Please tune in to the next one for part 2. If you have any questions, shoot them below. Send them to me because we will address them. And thank you again for coming, for having me.
My pleasure. It was good to be invited.
Cool. Well, have a good Sunday. And for everyone listening, have a great Thursday.